Don't. Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents The Mystery Box. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Swinsky.
And I am Bartek, also a host.
Hello, Bartek. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am very well. We're doing our monthly show, The Mystery Box. What is that, Bartek? What is The Mystery Box?
What is it? The Mystery Box is a show that we do once a month where we have a guest, or one time we didn't have a guest, pick out a mystery DVD from the Mystery Box.
Oh, okay.
And what we do then is that we watch the feature film or whatever
Video
feature
project.
is on, whatever the project is on there, or if there's multiple, whichever one's the default.
Yeah.
And then, we watch it, we discuss it, and then we come on here to the podcast and fully discuss it.
Yeah, excellent. That's a great breakdown. You broke me down on the inside.
You're welcome.
I'm crying on the inside. I should mention we are spin Polish, likingly, because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish. That aspect doesn't really matter in this monthly show. Usually in our weekly show, you would have the title of the movie in Polish, and then I would be like, I don't speak Polish, and then you're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, and you're like, okay, and then we go back and forth for a bit.
All right, no cross-promoting.
But Bartek, we covered something this episode, but we didn't cover it alone.
I was surprised, yeah.
I'm surprised too. We didn't cover it
covered
alone.
something.
We had a guest come in, pick the movie completely at random. All the movies are wrapped up in the box. You can't tell which one's which. And our guest came to my house, put their hand in the box, and picked out the thing we watched. But who is the guest?
The guest is a first-timer for the Mystery Box, but has been on Unappreciated Masterpieces 3 times, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
3 times a lady. There you go.
Yeah. Our guest is Mr. Nathan Malloy.
And might I say, it's an absolute pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Malloy.
Good acting.
Now,
Yeah.
is Malloy 1 L or 2? It's
It's
dire that you get this wrong again.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's 1 L, but all the successful Malloys are 2 Ls. So
Yeah.
whenever there's a conversation of important people, I tend to just slide in that extra L.
The
There you go.
aerospace engineer.
Yeah, the
whatever it was.
aerospace engineer, the scientist, and
The
the 1
comedian.
L has a circus. So, I mean...
I like we didn't mention Mick Malloy, the Australian comedic figure.
I mean, I'd put an aerospace engineer over a comedian, but I mean, you make your
Wow.
standings wherever you want.
Well, which one did you send to space, Ryan?
Well, Mick Malloy, of course. He made the film Crackerjack.
Yeah, he'd make the world's first space jokes.
Exactly.
It'd be perfect.
First space jokes? Well, you clearly didn't hear one great step for man. Whatever. So, Bartek, we
Star
did...
Wars.
Star Wars is a great joke. But Bartek, we covered a movie this time round.
Yeah.
Yeah, an actual movie, not a home project made by a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, the last time we said that, Ryan, that we watched an actual movie, it was like a horror film, and well,
This one is a horror comedy, same as the last one that was an actual
Yeah.
movie. We watched the movie Fido.
yes.
Malloy, you pick this.
I know, it was like Christmas coming early.
Because you have to unwrap it as well.
Yeah, I know, it was so much fun. It's like you put your hand in a little box and I roll, it's like, oh, what's it going
And
to be?
then we all had Christmas pudding.
Yeah, I know. We all had eggnog.
And there was a
everyone
face
came
looking
over
at
here.
you when you got rid of the wrapping, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
really scary. And I just put it back.
Malloy, you picked this.
Yes.
What was your feeling about when you grabbed it and you saw it? What did you feel before we watched it? What was your inkling?
Well, I first saw the giant horror tag in the corner. I'm like, oh, sweet, spooky movie, awesome. I haven't watched one of these in ages. And then I started going like, oh, that's a bit of a goofy smile. And then I kept looking through.
Smile?
Well, it's more about...
Yeah.
You know? I mean, let's be honest. There's the threatening roar, and then there's kind of like that... where it's like partially open, inquisitive. That's more of an inquisitive one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I looked at that and go, oh, I have no idea what this is at all. And then I saw Fido. I'm like, well, that's the least scary title I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
And I think you
some
pronounced
might
it
say-
Fido.
Yeah, I
He
did.
literally was like, oh, Fido!
Fido!
Fido.
Fido!
Bartek, you reacted when he grabbed this out.
Did I?
Yes, you went, oh.
I mean, we still don't know what that means to this point. It's more of an O and O.
For me, it didn't fill me with much excitement from your end.
For me, it was, oh yeah, that was in the box. Because I'm not as familiar with everything that's in the box. So.
I'm losing familiarity with them as time goes on.
I saw that there were like, a half a dozen things there, and I could think of half a dozen things, but this one was just one of the ones that slipped my mind.
And, of course, I saw it and went, yeah, I remember this now. It's got Billy Connolly in it. That's what my media thought was.
And you found this, Ryan, did you not?
My fiance found this, actually. She bought this from an old Video Easy store, I'm pretty sure, like a video rental store from some suburb.
Station Square, I heard you say.
Station Square Videos. If I, give the phone number to like phone him up if you want one. A couple years ago, she thought, well, this looks weird. And it was. Now, the thing about it is, the cover is always what draws people into a movie, like a poster. If you don't know about it, if you saw it, what draws you in is like an iconic image. And this image on the cover of this is just very simple. It's Billy Connolly. It's, a headshot photo of him. He looks decayed. He looks like a zombie. Mm-hmm. He's got his mouth open, screaming, as Malloy described it before. But it could also be translated with more terror because he's got these decayed teeth, and behind him is a white picket fence sprayed with blood. So you could determine it as a polite or a So it's a very hard translatable picture for the kind of it is, but it is definitely an variety of facial expression. It isn't like a facial expression or a facial expression. It's a facial expression. Isn't that right, Malloy?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, is this scary? Is it not scary? What am I entering with?
But
this?
It definitely is a zombie face.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's either that or someone that's just grabbed a pile of makeup and just chucked it on their face.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's grabbed something really hot and we can't see it, and then below it is like, my hand!
It kind of looks like he's balancing
Well,
the
like,
title
he
on
wasn't
his head.
prepared for the makeup. Like, someone's just come up and chucked the whole entire thing in his face. And it's like, my eyes,
So it's a very simple cover. It's white picket fence behind him, blue sky, the title Fido in big white font with blood sprayed on it. It has at the bottom just black with the outlines of the suburban homes and picket fences in between the homes. And it has a great tagline here. He'll steal your heart, ... or eat it! Which is a great little tagline to draw people in. It drew me in.
And the Australian Classification Board said that this is MA, if I see that correctly.
MA, mature audiences, 15 plus, for strong horror violence.
Again, and when I saw that, that's why I thought it was like, this is an actual horror movie. And then I saw Fido, and I'm like,
Give it here. Come on, stupid. Throw it. It's a baseball. You throw it. You throw like a girl.
Now, another thing to mention is I was filled with supreme happiness because I saw Lionsgate is on the cover.
Yeah.
And I saw it had quotes from critics and it had celebrities in it. So I thought, we're getting a movie. Because other times we haven't had these things on the cover, and it has filled me with much dread.
Similar to
I was going to say, I love this is where the bar is set at this point. It's like, it has a title and a company, and people have seen it.
You know what?
Why?
After this recording, we should show you some of the other DVDs.
They're
I would love to see
pretty
it.
epic.
Yes, but this one looks like it's a standalone film. It's not in a pack. It's got all those things you just said.
It's got Billy Connolly in it.
It looks like, a standard movie that was probably in cinemas and marketed.
It does look like a film. So we were filled with much excitement, except for Bartek, who we could not determine what he was filled with.
Yeah, I still don't know at this point what he was feeling at the start.
And also,
Yeah.
and also, I noticed that it had a setup menu, which not a lot of things we've done on the Mystery Box had.
No.
How low is the bar for you guys on all this?
Dude, we've been doing this show for over a year.
We didn't
the
check.
bar is on the floor.
We didn't check, Malloy, but if this DVD has subtitles, it is above like everything else we've done.
It doesn't say on the back if it has subtitles, but
Okay.
I hope that it did. Oh wait, it does. English and Spanish. Huzzah!
There you go.
Huzzah.
That's two
So,
subtitles.
Fido, I looked at it and went, this is a zombie movie. I didn't think much else about it, and I tell a lie. I did think it was going to be comedic because it had Billy Connolly in it, and you associate him with more comedic things because he is a comedian.
Yeah.
What about you, Bartek? When you saw Fido's brilliant little face, what did you think you were gonna get?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a zombie film. I still had the idea in the back of my mind that, like, oh, maybe there's going to be a dog because the name Fido is so, associated with dogs.
But Billy Connolly on the cover, I didn't point out, is wearing a big
He's wearing,
collar.
Yeah, the notable zombie collar of the film.
Oh boy, we need to start delving into this big bad boy of a movie, don't you agree?
Yes.
This movie is a movie, Malloy. The bar is really
I mean,
low.
yeah, it's definitely a movie. Out of movie, I give it a movie.
It's
definitely
we know
a
Malloy's
movie.
rating.
Yeah, well, we don't want to give it away too early.
But okay, so this movie opens up immediately onto like this old kind of propagandary little
It's one of
short
those
film of
1950s black and white, like, educational
videos.
video short.
Yeah, and it's basically how the movie can give you exposition to tell you what the movie is.
It immediately gives you a 50s aesthetic.
Like, you have that guy who talks with that pseudo-English accent that's kind of like... And also that kind of old-timey accent where he's like, and welcome to this plot line here. We're over here now. And then it's like...
It's the kind of voice that from Family Guy Quagmire's voice was based off of, yeah.
Those old radio presenting types, yeah. And basically you're told the equivalent of World War II in this universe was the zombie wars because space dust came down and woke up the dead... And zombies started attacking all over the world, I'm assuming. We're not sure about the world, but at least in America. And the zombie wars broke out, people are dying, people come back to life, and the whole rule is if you die, no matter the consequences of if it's a zombie or not, you will come back from the dead. That's a big thing. This movie doesn't really need to do the you're bit and die, because it has characters that later on get revealed to have been bitten, but they did not turn into zombies.
They just have, like, scars or whatever.
Yeah. So you have to die to become a zombie in this universe, not just get bitten, which is kind of neat.
I think that's Walking Dead rules, but I wouldn't know.
No, I'm fairly sure Walking Dead, I think, still is the bite.
Yeah, it's still the bite.
I'm fairly sure it's still the bite.
Yeah, it's still the bite. But you get this little, educational video just telling you the plot, and basically the ZomCon, the zombie company.
See, when I heard that, I was thinking like zombie convention, and I was just going like, oh, well, this is a really weird start for this comedy film, and I'm like, is it going to be like a whole convention with these
but
booths
it's
and all
actually
sorts
this like very
it's
well
like,
organized.
It's like their version of Umbrella, essentially.
Yeah, it's their version of like a scientific organization that is combating against the zombie attacks, and they've come up with building fences to stave off zombies from breaking into towns. Who was the scientist? What was he called?
Oh.
Professor Geiger?
Yeah, Geiger. Something Geiger.
Yeah. And you never see him in the movie other than this footage, because he's obviously dead by then, because he's like this really old man.
He's a really old man.
And he makes a
with glasses.
scientific discovery of...
He invented the collars.
But he makes a scientific discovery
Oh,
of...
yes. The zombies can only be incapacitated if you destroy their brains.
Which is great.
It's great, but it's also raised the question how no one figured this out
well,
before.
We live in a world where zombie movies exist.
Yeah, but I mean, if the military's blindly shooting bullets at these things, surely one of them must have hit the head, and they go like, oh, he didn't come back up.
Yeah, but
well,
maybe,
if they're blindly shooting, then they wouldn't know what it was that took him out, right?
Exactly, Malloy.
Yeah, all right, I'll give
Take
you that.
that.
I'll give you that.
Take that.
I'm not fighting you.
Take that in your pipe and smoke it, young lad. So
cheerio.
He makes the discovery of that, and then he eventually leads to the fact that you could tame these creatures, these zombies, by making these collars that kind of send electromagnetic signals to their brain to tame them and become servants. And
the way it gets conveyed to us is that when the red light is on, it's working.
Yeah, and they basically tell you throughout this whole entire little prologue that this company runs everything now. There's the wastelands outside, the wastelands?
They call it the wildlands?
The wildlands outside where zombies just roam. And if you're inside, you're safe. Sometimes zombies will attack anyway, so you have to press your emergency ZomCon button.
I think it's com, right?
Com? No, it's with an N.
Was it? It's not on the cover anywhere, so...
Yeah, it's with an N, which confused me. Either way, your zombie protection people, press that and they'll come along and take care of the zombies, basically. If your zombie's collar malfunctions, they'll take it away.
Yep.
And zombies are just basically second-class citizens and pets on a level. Hence Fido. He names him like a dog. our main character. Our main character,
Timmy.
who we get introduced in the real first scene of the movie, which is in the classroom.
Yeah, it was a transition there because when we were watching this 1950s, educational short, it was in like that very old aspect ratio, like not all of the screen was being used, but then
the old 4:3 thing.
but then it turned out that this was actually us watching it on a like whiteboard projection or something, or TV projection. And then, the film actually transitions into the proper aspect ratio and color.
And the movie's set during, like, the 1950s now, maybe early 60s, because there were some colourful things in there.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to our main character of Timmy.
Timmy Robinson has a question.
Timmy, go on. Ask a good question.
Just to give a bit of clarification, this is one of these post-apocalyptic movies where the society has come back again, but they're now really corrupt by, like, they don't really have real strong morals in any way. Like, it's all white picket fences and nice things, but zombies are treated shit.
Yeah. It's really difficult to even say that there is any sort of apocalypse going on because everything is so structured.
Everything's so structured in terms of that really scary, evil corporate way where, people, if they do the wrong thing, will be sent off and fend for themselves in the post-apocalyptic wastelands outside and all that. And it's just that white-collar world. Everyone's happy all the time. They have to be, or else they get taken away. And that's kind of the world we live in. So Timmy, at the beginning, asks questions.
Yeah, a question that never really was answered throughout the whole entire film.
I actually thought it was going to come back.
He didn't want to ask a question, if you remember, guys.
No. Bullies force him to ask a question because we get introduced at the beginning to the kind of antagonist of the movie.
Yeah, the president of the company.
Mr. Bottoms.
Yeah.
Who was great, and he just comes in and basically gives you that old 1950s kind of like, look here. You could become one, and you could become one, and, we have to kill them. And how many people here, how many children here have killed zombies? And, like, 3 or 4 of them put them up, and he's like, that's good. You see, I'm very...
No more than that.
No more than that. It's like, I'm very proud because... the people who haven't killed him, that's what I want. I don't want us to live in a world where we all have to kill zombies, but he's the kind of guy who clearly does want to live
and we
in
also
that world.
he's a veteran who's like proud of his 500 kills,
Yeah, and we're introduced
Zombie
to that,
Wars veteran.
And there's 2 bullies who in any other movie would be dweebs and nerds.
It's weird. The bullies were your typical, gee guys, and the kind of like the fumbling around.
And they had the Boy Scout uniform.
Yeah, they're like the younger version of the characters from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
except
they like,
didn't grow up.
They look like they'll be in a show like Leave It to Beaver or Opie and all that kind of stuff, and or the Andy Griffith Show, but they're the antagonists. And they just basically force our main character to ask a question.
Yeah, they like one of them asks a question first, but doesn't end up being a question, and they get told of like, all right, can we have a real question?
And then Timmy,
who's in the way back in the classroom looking bored.
They do that real interesting thing. No, he looks nervous. That's the thing, because Timmy's a loser. Because they do that conventional thing. We've seen movies. If it's about a kid, our main kid has to be a dweeb loser who's on the outside. But he's the one that actually has it all together.
Yeah.
In the world of this corrupt society or this ignorant society. And he asked the question, which was...
he gets forced to ask a question. I believe the question he asked was, are zombies dead or alive?
That's a stupid question. And then that's immediately when it gets told, but Mr. Bottom's like, there's no such thing as stupid questions. And he just gives an answer, which is, no, they're monsters who want to eat you.
Well, yeah, but you raise question whether that's just him justifying the fact he's killed 500 of them. Because if he's like, well, they're kind of alive, you kind of go, well, should you be putting them as trophies and the rest of stuff? But the other question, the one he asked afterwards, I think is...
Which was a great question.
Yeah, which is the one where if they were buried still down too far and they're clawing their way up, are they dead or not?
Yeah, but...
And the question was never actually answered.
Yeah, the question was speechless.
The question was, are we actually protected in this gated community if there's zombies underneath us digging their way up? And it's played for a comedy beat because then it's just silence and then moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, let's go to outdoor education.
Yeah,
but it's very interesting, this scene, because it's the introduction to this main character that we get, Tim, and it makes us think like, oh, he's inquisitive, he's wise.
He's questioning the system, and he's going to most likely change it or alter it in some way with his experiences of learning to meet a zombie that changes his perspective.
He's the progressive one, yeah.
But then he's not for the rest of the movie. He's a little asshole that uses Fido to hurt people. And he is 100% for the system, except for when it dicks him over personally.
Yeah.
It's like he was basically just trying to survive in that classroom.
Like, just to skip ahead, there's this old lady character we get introduced to called Mrs. Henderson.
Yeah.
And later on, her husband, due to the system, gets taken away and thrown out into the zombie apocalypse outside. And Timmy does not show any form of guilt or regret because it's his fault that event happens in the first place.
Yeah, he didn't even seem sad. He's kind of oh, well, they're gone.
He didn't. And that's kind of the commentary I guess they're making. But, like, usually in a movie like these types of movies, they would play that main character Timmy as way more like naive or innocent or guilty or whatever.
And there are other things that he is morally like, hung up about, but not some of the more morally unjust things.
But that's the thing that I see. I think they threw us with that. But the more I think about this movie is a comedy.
Yeah.
It is, a satire on society stuff. So Timmy being this flawed, terrible person of a main character really works because that was something that worked as a comedic thing for us, and I think it was intentional for that.
What a stupid question.
Really stupid.
No, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, the truth is, to some people, zombies might seem human, but make no mistake. These creatures have only one goal, and that is to eat your flesh. So without ZomCon, we'd all be dead. And then where would we be?
Dad.
That's right. So does that answer your question, Timmy?
I guess.
You guess? Well, this isn't a world where we guess, young man. You either know something or you don't.
This film deals with a lot of interesting issues. Timmy has... They introduce a lot of things, but they don't follow through on them. But it's not annoying. Like, they introduce that he might be in love with the new girl who is Mr. Bottom's daughter, but then they never follow through on that ever
every
again.
now and then, yeah.
Like, she helps him, but he never does the I'm in love with her and I want to pursue this outside of the first scene, and that's when you get shown that the bullies are bullies because they try to shoot him in the face with a gun.
Yeah. In the classroom scene, the girl is introduced wearing these, like, corner-framed glasses.
Those old secretary glasses.
Yeah. And it's like, she's our newest and possibly brightest student, and she's the daughter of this president guy, so...
Mr.
Bottoms, and we eventually learn, like, she's actually secretly sort of rebellious, like, she doesn't like ballet, but she's made to do it and things like that.
She's a conformist, but an aggravated conformist.
She's a rebel.
Without a cause.
Really, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so basically you get taken outside for a bit, you get introduced to these two dweeby bullies, as they are really bullies because they want to shoot him in the fucking face with a gun. That does have a great little gag in it, because this movie has so many gags, but this one I really liked, where the kids get taken away, put on detention, it's like, yeah, but Timmy said Zomcon or Zomco is stupid, and then Mr. Bum's like, get out of here, and then he helps Timmy up and is like, did you really say that? And then hard cut to next scene. So many moments in this movie is just like, that's the end of that scene, moving on, but in a good way. Like, usually if I say that, that's a negative, but this just gave comedic pacing a real good kick.
Yeah, hard cut has always been one of your things of being like, then it hard cuts again, but the hard cuts were used well in this film.
It's a comedy cut, it's a great comedy cut.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I do love the fact in, like, this post-apocalyptic world, a child literally holds a hand, like a rifle up to another child's face and go, no, stop, you can't, and just pulls the ear and walks off. There's no real punishment other than just a couple of hours, just detention, with a loaded rifle at another child's face, and you're just like,
Yeah, it was an interesting little world that they set up in this. Like, that's the thing that is the biggest strength in this is the universe that they set up, like this whole town, which was I forget the name of the town. It was something with
I can't
W,
remember
wasn't
either.
it? It was like
Willard.
Willard.
That's it.
The town of Willard. They set up this universe really well. Like, not only just as the exposition at the beginning, but just the way the society works. Like, you have interesting little side characters that actually do influence the plot. Like, usually when we've had movies in the past, or, you know, they're side characters, but they don't actually really influence the plot. You have Tim Blake Nelson's in this movie as Mr.
Was he Theopolis?
Yeah, Mr. Theopolis.
Yeah.
And he is a guy, his whole storyline could just be like a comedic side plot where it's like, this guy has a young, sexy zombie
barely
lady.
decayed zombie girl who's like half his
And
age.
he uses her as a sex slave, basically, and his girlfriend. And you could just have that be a thing on its own, and it doesn't influence the plot. But then he actually influences the plot and helps the main characters achieve things, but he's still a side character.
Yeah, he has all these like physical characteristics that like just on their own conveys who his character is, and you think like, oh, he's just a side character. We see what he's about. That's the gag. But no, he helps the main character progress the plot to the climax.
And you have a bunch of that in this movie, like little characters that actually help progress the story,
and
which it
character
seems
transformation too.
Which seems even in mainstream Hollywood movies is a forgotten art form of having side characters that actually matter in terms of being in a movie, other than we just need to fill out the 4-hour running time of our movie. Like, that's something I have to praise. Like, the universe, these characters. Like, you actually want to see more of these characters?
She looks good for a zombie.
Same as the day I met her. She was shopping in the grocery store for candy corn with her mom. Had some kind of a brain aneurysm. They slapped a collar on her before she even hit the floor. Got her before there was any decomposition.
We go back home, we meet the mum. What's the mum like when she sees Timmy's shirt is kind of scuffed up because he got bullied at school?
Well, the mum was pretty much like, well, don't let it happen again. We'll just ignore it like everything else that's happening. It's the post-apocalyptic, so don't worry. It's the past is past, and let's just move on to the next thing.
But she does give physical affection that ends any form of psychological damage ever enforced.
Oh yeah, the world's worst hug I've ever seen in my life. It's kind of like, I don't want to get dirty, so here's a little tap, and then we're going to move backwards a little bit. I don't want to go too far because that'll show I care. So,
you know what's really great about that? What? We made jokes about that, and obviously that's played for a comedic beat. But that little moment, that little hug there, is a great little tool that the filmmakers and the actress and the director use to inform us that what is the central message of this movie is the family is very sterile, emotionally sterile, and through the course of events they become less and less and less emotionally sterile and more emotionally affectionate, except for the father. Yeah, right? Because at the beginning she's all very prim and proper, and she gives him a light hug, and that's like a nice visual cue for the audience without her being like, I'm an emotionally sterile character. Like, you know,
compare that to like halfway through the film after that funeral where she like, you know, puts her arm around him, it's like, we're going zombie or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I think it's not just that family. I think it's honestly all of the families in the community.
Yeah, all the characters.
Like, it seems like the whole scenario is all of them are like, well, this zombie thing is too emotionally straining.
Oh yeah,
let's
definitely
just incorporate it and just zone ourselves out completely.
Oh, that's definitely a society, but yeah, since we're following this family's journey, that's a great visual little moment, which is just subtle filmmaking there. You know, it's great.
Yeah, and Ryan, you and I think Rachel also were thinking sort of towards The Legend of Frosty the Snowman, which was also set in like a 50s style community.
Which everyone's emotionally sterile.
Yeah, which everyone's emotionally
sterile.
Until
a snowman comes along and changes everything.
Voiced by Patrick doing the exact same voice.
No
from
way,
SpongeBob.
really?
SpongeBob.
Nice.
Yeah.
Call me!
Hey, Walter, call me!
Call me!
Yeah, and in that, they're very much all about conformity and, like, sticking to gender roles. Like, the mum is all about, like, oh, I don't want other people thinking that we're weird, and just saying weird, not even going into detail, and talking about how, oh, well, every family on this street has a zombie and we don't. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah, the neighbors across the road, the Bottoms, because they move across the road, they have 6 zombies, and I talked to them, and I said, well, we have 1, and then you find out later she didn't even talk to them.
Yeah.
Which was a great little moment. She's like, Timmy, I thought you were on my side. So, what's going on with this household? Malloy? Like, what's going on with the dad and the mum, and what's going on with all these people?
The mum is Carrie Ann Ross, by the way. Yeah.
Moss,
sorry.
Carrie Ann Moss, and the dad is Dylan Baker, who's one of those character actors that's awesome all the time.
Yeah, I'd probably say, looking at like the whole family dynamic, the mother, well, she is technically was going to be another mother according to the story, and it happens later on, is that she really wants to emotionally engage, but the dad's just cut himself off completely. Because I think he's still got in his head the whole, oh, my dad died from the zombie, and I don't want to connect to anything or anybody at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like that whole shut off from society thing. Like, he's the extreme version of everyone else in that whole entire community.
Yeah,
where
he's got
like,
PTSD.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
His one kill was his father.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's kind of like, when you grow up, you get rid of emotions, you don't have any.
Which is like that whole scene.
The whole scene where
it's not
in
about...
the car later on with the handgun, handgun drop off, which is a hilarious concept. Like, I know you're only supposed to have one of these when you're 12, but I'm being a little bit more lenient.
Revolver.
Here's a revolver when you're like, don't forget the bullets. Just the fact, just leave me in the bag. Anyone can grab it. Anyone can touch it. It's just this concept of, well, we're in an apocalyptic scenario, so there's no point worrying about what's going to happen in the future. Just work on the moment and just moving on from there.
Yeah, it's a world where it's like experiences and life itself, what we hold in our universe at the moment, in our real world, of having experiences in life and emotions and connections. Don't do that. That doesn't matter. What matters is living, surviving. That's all that matters to the dad. He has post-traumatic stress from his killing his own father. There's a great line from the mum where it's like, just because you're miserable because you had to kill your father, does that mean the rest of us have to be for all eternity?
Yeah.
He's something like that. It's such a great line.
The dad is also very obsessed with funerals.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to become a zombie.
Yeah.
And how do they, in this universe, do funerals? Because it's like the most expensive thing in the universe, too.
Oh, I love it. They just cut off the head, put it in a box, and just throw it in a hole.
Yeah.
There's no even gently putting it down. They're just like, whatever.
Throw
it in.
And it's very expensive, to the point in which it's a major plot point that the dad is emotionally cut off because he's trying to keep up work all the time so that they can afford the 1950s lifestyle, but also afford the funerals. Yeah. And there's a bit later where the mum is pregnant throughout the whole movie. She's getting more and more pregnant, and the dad's oblivious to it because he's a dickhead, asshole, Dumbo.
Yeah.
And then when she announces that she's pregnant, he has like the best reaction in the whole movie. Like, it's just such a sensible reaction in this very crazy world.
Yeah, he's like awkward, trying to like force a smile, and then he says,
I just don't think on my salary I can afford another funeral.
The dad is the real crux of this, him and Timmy, because the dad is an emotionally sterile guy, and Timmy bonds with a zombie. And we watched the behind the scenes, and even the director and the writers said, like, the irony is that in this family, the zombie is the one that's most emotionally alive.
Well, he's more emotionally alive than the father.
Yeah. And that's why Timmy, our main character, starts bonding with the zombie. At first, he's a dick to the zombie.
Well, we should mention first the mum gets a zombie.
Yeah, she gets a zombie and the dad's not for it, but then he will be because he likes to torture it with the little remote control buzzer thing.
Yeah, it makes him feel a bit more powerful because he does have an explicit fear of zombies.
Yeah, and he electrocutes it with its collar. And that's how the dad gets off on having the zombie around.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the only few times he smiled in the whole film. Whereas during that zapping bit and during the car where he gave the son a revolver. Because I can't really think of any other moment.
Well, like I said, the awkward smile when he heard that his wife was pregnant.
No, he smiled at funerals.
Yeah, so it's funerals, electrocuting zombies, and giving his son a handgun.
Because he every Sunday they go to funerals because he likes going to them and taking pictures.
And they called it a Sunday drive.
Yeah, Sunday drive.
Yeah.
And he's like, we never know anyone. His mum's like, maybe we will this time.
Do you think that's an analogy between church?
Yeah, it's
just
their
the concept of having it Sunday.
Version of church. Yeah.
It's definitely the most religious thing in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
There's like a priest guy there, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, this family is really screwed up. So eventually they get Fido. They don't name him Fido for a little while into the movie.
Yeah.
The dad's always away. He's at work. He's going out golfing. Like, he doesn't really care about being a dad. So little boy Timmy connects with the Fido by throwing a baseball. That's such a American way of connecting as well. They threw a football and a baseball together. Now they're friends.
They played catch.
Well, I assume that's to
catch.
go and link it with the 1950s motif.
Oh,
It's the
definitely.
reason why they did the
That's-
whole baseball throwing
yeah,
catch.
and-
Because it's your typical, like, go on for the pitches, throwing the ball,
I mean,
doing everything with the dad.
I mean, to
type
be
thing.
more explicit, the catch failed, and then he walked to a park, and something happened at the park, and they got together.
Yeah, they played catch at the park.
Yeah, but
And then bullies were being dicks to zombies
were they
at the
play-
park.
Oh, of course, yes, because the ball fell into the bush, and he went to get it, and the bullies were there, right?
The bullies were shooting zombies with BB guns.
Yeah.
And he was not having that. And then Billy Connolly's zombie saw that the bullies were trying to attack Timmy, and he grabbed one of them and broke their arm.
Yeah.
And then that gives the bullies later on in the movie the motivation to really, really go after Timmy.
Yeah.
Because during all of this, for some reason, Timmy has Fido without a leash, which is a no-no in this universe. You can't be a kid without a zombie on the leash because they
If
could
you're away
run
from
amok.
home, yeah.
They could run amok, and he does because Fido walks off, finds Mrs. Henderson, who's this old cranky bitch that lives across the road who yells at Timmy all the time. And when I say all the time, I mean once in the movie, and it's indicated that she does it all the time.
Yeah.
And he hits him with a walking frame and then breaks his collar, and he just eats her arm.
Yeah, because Fido was trying to get a baseball that was under the park bench she was sitting on, and I guess she reacted as if he was trying to perv up her skirt or something.
Yes, and that's the thing. These zombies are variants of zombies. Like he's pretty decayed, and you have Tammy who's freshly decaying, and they different mobilities between zombies. Some of them really slow, but they all have personalities. Like they're clearly sentient on some level.
Yeah, the collars definitely give them a bit more humanistic qualities.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting touch because I can't think of like any other zombie film. Maybe Zombieland. I think there was a little bit of it in there.
Shaun of the Dead.
Well, yeah, all right. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead in this film, and maybe Zombieland. I'm trying to remember Zombieland completely.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a little bit in that too. But just the concept.
Day of the Dead.
Did Day of the Dead have any?
Yeah.
I feel like I don't remember any other than just the straight zombies in Day of the Dead.
Bub in Day of the Dead.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time.
Yeah, this movie has a lot of interesting ideas. It's comedic. There's so many funny gags in this. There's a million of them. And of course, we have to talk about the best gag in the movie because it just randomly happens in the movie. Like they're at school, he's watching the TV.
Yeah,
he's watching TV
in the morning.
And it's like a black and white, old timey, and it's like an old man falling over, like a really fat old grandpa.
And a little girl like right up to the camera, off to the side, and she's like, "No, Grandpa fell and he's getting up."
and then the zombie co people come along and like push him to the ground, collar him up and take him away.
Like a propaganda short film.
And they're
or
like,
something.
no matter what, if it's a relative, friend, or loved one, make sure to call,
the
zombie
people
con.
and
And
take
it's just
him away,
like,
yeah.
take him away. And that was such a great line. The way she delivered it's like it's a great
slightly wooden. The line itself was funny, and the visuals was great.
And of course, it plays on that very well-known old people ad of I can't remember what they're called, like the life alert.
Yeah, the one where she's like at the top of the stairs
she
and then she
falls
does
down.
the roll and she's like, "Oh, I'm old, I can't get up."
Yeah, I fell down the stairs and I can't get up. So it's a play in that as well. So it adds that comedic effect, and that's obviously post 1950s that idea too. So it kind of is like a little thing for the audience to enjoy.
But again,
like,
I think it's still
get it.
linked, yeah. And I feel like they probably have been giving that message for a lot longer. Than...
Oh yeah, but like that specific reference to that specific ad from like 1980s.
Yeah,
it's a nice little touch, and it was the best gag because it just came out of nowhere and then went away again.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't repeat it. They didn't drone it to death. It was just one joke, or it's kind of like
there's many jokes like that. Like the movie doesn't really do the rule of three jokes. Here's the thing that I really appreciated about this in terms of the comedy. It was actually smart.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had this movie. Billy Connolly is not a comedian that I personally love. He's good. I recognize his talent. But I see this. I see what he looks like in the movie. He's doing the physicality really well. He's kind of lumbering. And I'm expecting slapstick. That's what I was expecting. Like, you know, when you think it's a zombie comedy movie where he's got a zombie dog butler figure, you're expecting him to, like, there's a bit early on where he drops a roast and he hits his head on the table. I was expecting the whole movie to be that kind of comedy. Like, you know, where he's like,
yeah,
boing,
now you mentioned that stuff did
like,
happen and it didn't stick in my head because that's not
Yeah,
what the
no,
film
I
is.
honestly forgot it happened as well.
They only did
It's
it
just-
once or twice here and there, and they didn't really focus on it because they had these real highbrow jokes about the societal issues and that, and like good zombie tales, you know, from Romero to Shaun of the Dead and all this. Zombies are used as some kind of allegorical figure for whatever the filmmaker is intending. You know, zombies, if it's a good zombie movie, there's a message in it, not just zombies are scary. No, like,
Yeah,
you know,
time to run and hide. Whatever will we do? Put
oh
the wooden
no,
on the windows
they
and stuff. Yeah.
smell us.
Oh,
like,
no.
oh no, my guts. Like, you know, that kind of thing. This one has a bunch of those. It's playing on that 1950s aesthetic. Obviously, there's a lot of racial allegories there because we don't have any people of color in this movie.
No, we don't. Yeah.
Not a single one. And these zombies are kind of treated like how black people were back in the 50s.
Because they're the ones with the different skin. Because
Yeah.
it's all decayed.
And, you know, they're segregated and they're treated lower class and servantry roles
They're
and
pretty
stuff
much
like that.
slaves. Yeah, they don't get paid.
You know, and, you know, stuff like that is very strongly done in the movie, but without beating you on the head with it. There's no point where, like, you know, in another movie you could see the zombie would try and, like, I don't know, go to a drinking fountain. They're like, no, that's not for you. That one over there is. And it's like the sewer or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have anything as, like, ham-fisted in this.
Yeah.
So the plot really kicks off when Mrs. Henderson gets murdered, and she's left in the park, and the bloody baseball is still there. That's kind of the indicator to link Timmy and Fido to the crime and the eventual zombie uprising that happens. But I did like when you saw that, and you're like, oh no, there's going to be a whole thing that the town's going to get all taken over by zombies, and the dad's going to get turned into a zombie. This person's going to get killed because zombie. It has a small zombie uprising for like one night, and then it's taken care of because they're just so efficient at solving this problem. And I kind of really appreciated that because you see other movies of zombie varieties, and they're like, yes, or Walking Dead, or any of these shows are like, yes, we've secured ourselves so well from zombie attacks, and then zombies attack, and then they're all fucked.
It's like one mistake is fatal.
Yeah, kind of like that police officer in the park where he just wasn't paying attention. He got bit. I'm pretty sure that was like the only police officer, other than the one that the children shot in the leg.
Yeah,
and that was probably the only police officer that got injured. And the guys in the car were just like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah,
like really, how do you get killed by these guys? And this goes up and shoots him in the face.
Much later in the movie when
the full outbreak. But even then, that outbreak was contained in like 2-3 days.
It gets
like
contained.
it's barely even a big deal at this point. They're just like, well, there's 100 people died maybe,
and they just wipe it away in a single TV ad spot, basically like, now buy this product. Like it just moves on. But that's kind of something that's awesome about this too. It's like they're actually contained. Like in another movie, like Walking Dead, that's Walking Dead all the time. Rick goes to a location that he thinks is safe, then finds out the people there are crazy, and then zombies come along and take care of those people for him. He moves on to the next place. Oh no, these people are secure, but they're crazy, and then zombies attack them, and that's like literally how Walking Dead just works all the time. So Bartek, Mrs. Henderson's left in the park. She eventually comes back from the dead. Tell us what happens from there. Like, all the chaos that ensues and, like, all the plot things that kind of domino effects.
The fact that she's missing is noted by some people, if I recall correctly.
Like her husband, yeah.
Yeah, her husband. And she... I think a man walking a dog that did not annoy Ryan walked by her body. And he was unfortunately taken care of by Mrs. Henderson.
The man, not the dog. The zombies don't eat animals.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I can't think of many zombie films where they just don't eat any animals.
Yeah, even in Shaun of the Dead, one tried to eat a pigeon.
They just straight up will eat animals, and in this they're just like, no point.
And that character, the dog walker, who always walks the dog still while the zombie does appear a few other times through the film, like terrorizing people, but he eventually gets taken out. But one of the immediate consequences to Mrs. Henderson being killed by Fido is that our main character Timmy has to take his zombie, who I think he names Fido in this scene I'm describing, to his father's garage to clean
Wash
him
him
down.
Yeah.
On the way there he runs into the little girl. What was her name?
Little Bottom.
Little Bottom, yeah. Yeah, and she explains to him, like, you have to walk around with a leash, and
And she helps cover it up from because she could clearly tell.
Yeah, she's clearly not into her dad's whole company business and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's against it all.
Like I said, rebel without much of a cause. And she wraps around her jump rope around the neck and be like, look, he's leashed, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then she goes to ballet, but she quickly whispers, I hate ballet.
Yeah.
Then they get taken to the garage, she cleans it down, the mum comes in, and she's all
Carrie-Anne
upset
Moss.
about that.
Yeah, but she's also, this is the tipping off point as well, where her character's going to change because she does the goo-goo eyes at Billy Connolly's half-naked body as a zombie.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even notice that, to be fair.
You weren't watching hard enough.
I clearly wasn't. But...
From that point onward, she was like slightly warming up to him every time. And they, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were playing like romantic sounding music.
Yeah, I kept saying throughout the movie she wants to fuck this zombie.
That thought was in the back of my mind, yeah.
Ends with the possibility that could happen in the future, but they don't actually go full hog on that, which is good, because he is very decayed.
Near the end of the film, Mr. Theopolis actually kisses his Tammy.
I was so expecting that to be an after-credit scene. I don't know why. I was just expecting it. It's like they're going to run that. Yeah, no, the zombie and the love between the two.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, this will probably be an end of the scene.
We also get introduced to the idea that Fido died of a heart attack.
Yeah, which is why I was so sure that was the grandpa. I was so sure for like nearly the whole entire film.
The grandfather that got killed by the dad died of a heart attack, and they make a big deal about it. But I think it's just to fuel the father's antagonistic relationship towards Fido. Like, it reminds him more of his father, more and more. Because they have the dinner scene in which the kid raises. It's like, just like Granddad. And then the father has like a PSD, like, flashback, and he just freaks out and leaves.
Yeah.
And, that I think that's what it was there for. I think sometimes when we watch a bunch of movies, we expect everything that seems like a setup to be have a payoff or whatever.
Yeah,
but sometimes
it's kind of like a golden rule for most of these films is like they only include something for it to lead to something.
But this did lead to something. It's just more of a thematic thing than a plot thing.
Yeah,
it's more of a thematic
It's something
point
to remind someone of something else.
Yeah, more of a conceptual idea of what this actually represents.
And that's what makes it great in terms of this film's got subtlety and nuances to it. Like, you didn't have the moment where the dad's sitting on the bed and the wife's like, why do you hate Fido? And he goes, 'cause. And he opens up the photo album and it's actually Billy Connolly's his dad. And he's like, 'cause he is my dad. And the music's like, womp, womp, womp. And then Timmy's listening through the doorway and he's like, Granddad. And then he treats him like his granddad. Like, no, we don't have that.
Yeah, I was expecting it. I was waiting for it to happen the whole entire film. Like, it's not doing it.
I knew it wouldn't work because of Billy Connolly, like how old. He just didn't seem like to line up because the dad killed him when he was 11 years old, the dad. And
But I
the
think
dad's
the
like in his
zombies
mid-30s
Yeah,
now.
but the zombie wouldn't age like
They
that.
decay more and more as time goes on. And
but I wouldn't say it that rate.
I say you would, because watch the movie. Tammy throughout the movie starts to get less and less color. Like when we first see her, she looks like she's a human.
Yeah, she's
but by the end of the
described
movie,
as-
she's going slightly grey, and the movie takes place over a year or two because there's a baby at the end of it.
Yeah, the last scene's set clearly after the pregnancy period.
And we have a bit of time before the pregnancy period even begins. So that's why I say maybe a year and a bit. So that's one of the things I like about this movie.
And definitely with Tammy, it's something that we can see because we are told that she had the collar put on her like as she was dying.
Yeah, at the moment she fell over. Essentially, they put it on straight away.
Yeah, Mr. Theophilus's girlfriend. After that, the collar keeps fucking up for a little bit. Like, he's outside. They chain him outside like a dog.
Yeah, and he reacts to the thunder.
Because the thunder fucks with his collar, because the collar malfunctions, and Mr. Theophilus comes along and is like, I'll fix this, because then you find out he used to work for Zomco, the zombie company, and he got fired eventually later because he has zombie girlfriend.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the end scene, I thought he was the guy they set up for the reason that the whole thing happened.
No, they just set up the guard, Frank.
Oh, so the guard Frank that died at the end that they blamed for... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was the other guy.
There's a random... It has lots of gags like that. Like, whenever anything goes wrong, they blame the people who got brutally murdered in the story. Like later on, these two bully kids get murdered horribly, and they blame them in the media for killing Mrs. Henderson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like this world will not care if you died in vain or heroically or accidentally. Like, they'll blame you for when horrific events happen.
ZomCon Chief John Bottoms died valiantly while defending the people of Willard from a wild zombie outbreak caused by this man, Frank Murphy, a once trusted ZomCon security guard who was caught accepting bribes from a renegade group of wild zombie poachers.
Billy Connolly is Fido.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you familiar with his comedic works, his stand-up, his movies?
I've definitely seen him in a few things.
Yeah, definitely a few things. Enough that his voice is iconic enough for me.
Right. Now, usually in a movie like this, Billy Connolly is, a fairly big name to have in a movie like this. Did you expect him to talk at any point?
Well, here's the thing. Throughout the whole entire film, I completely forgot who he was.
Yeah.
Because he never played to any real characteristics or stereotypical actions that he's done from his comedy acts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the voices.
He has short hair in this. He doesn't have a goatee or beard, which is something he usually
does. When the first thing we saw when we clicked on the behind the scenes was him talking, and I noticed that very obviously drove home to Malloy, like, this was Billy Connolly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's who it was. Like, because in my head, I just completely forgot.
Yeah, he completely disappears. But did you expect him to eventually be able to talk?
With the fact that, and this is drawing from the fact simply that a zombie threw the milk because he saw a zombie throw a newspaper, it gave me this idea that the zombies can learn, and even Billy Connolly learns to, not harm Timmy when the collar malfunctions.
And not harm the mum or other people.
Yeah, so the possibility was there in my head that, okay, maybe there's going to be, an end point of his, learning and development.
Yeah,
maybe he will utter some words.
I reckon his first word would be, Timmy!
You mean kind of like how he would teach the other zombies not to bite type thing?
Yeah.
And that would be like the
Could
end
be.
lesson, so there's actually a follow-up type thing.
It's like what was his end point going to be? Maybe he was going to say something.
Because this movie doesn't have Billy Connolly talk. He just goes, oh, and all that.
The zombies all just grunt.
We never even get to find out who he was in his, when he was alive.
Yeah, all
which
we ever
I
learn...
expected to find out. You
That's
expect
the
these
point.
things in movies where you get answers to everything, but this movie's like, we don't need that. You don't need it. And
All
I agree, you don't need it.
All you know is he had a heart attack.
That's all you know. And you like smoking.
Again, with
that's right.
Yeah, again, with that lack of information, that was one of the main reasons I thought it was the grandpa. But hiring him for this job, it's kind of like, who's the guy that does Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, it's kind of like hiring Vin Diesel for Groot is hiring him to be the zombie.
Yeah.
It's like...
I
It's
agree.
more the name, but he doesn't really... Well, he does more than Groot.
He brings a lot to this role. He does a great physicality.
There is physical characteristics.
He does also a really great job of slow progression towards being a more human character throughout the journey of the movie. Billy Connolly does a really great job of physically embodying the fact that he is changing as a character very well.
It's just
where he just stands there and gives that sexy face.
It's just a little surprising that it's the outrageous guy that made a documentary about the F word.
Yeah, usually in a movie like this, you'd get one of those actors who does the physical makeup stuff a lot, like Doug Jones or Ray Park or someone like that,
Or you get someone who's B grade who doesn't require as much to pay to get on the set because they're not bringing them in for the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Someone who's not big but is a good physical actor.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie,
more of a stunt person.
No,
type
this
thing,
movie, just to clarify, this movie does have some really well-known actors in it. Carrie-Anne Moss, Billy Connolly. Tim Blake Nelson is Mr. Theopolis, who a lot of people know Tim Blake Nelson without knowing it. He's in the Coen Brothers movies.
That was your immediate reaction, I know this guy.
I love him. He was recently in the Coen Brothers movie that's on Netflix, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. He played Buster Scruggs, and in that movie, he's an expert marksman. In this movie, they make a joke that he cannot shoot for shit.
Oh, I thought it was so funny.
And he's one of those guys that's just in a shit ton of things. He's a great character actor. And the same with the father, Dylan Baker. He's one of those guys that you've seen him. I've seen him, and he's always a different variant. He's one of the movies I love him in is called Happy, where he plays like a pedophile, basically. And people asked him weren't you afraid that movie would ruin your career on a level? And he goes, nope, it was just another job. And he never really played he just plays varying roles. And in this, he was my favorite. The dad, Dylan Baker.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He played that straightish kind of character really well.
Yeah, he was. that emotionally stunted character very, very well. Like his face, like he has these beady little eyes and like this kind of baby fat face. Like he's got a chubby baby face and like these teeth, these big white bright teeth, and that's hard to combat against when Tim Blake Nelson also has big white teeth and he's literally got a cigarette holder in his mouth all the time, so he's always got that like shark like grin. But the dad in this, he is so good. Like he has so many great one-liners that are just so like off the cuff. Like this guy is not a comedic actor. Like Billy Connolly is a comedic actor, so that's why I think it's good they took the dialogue away from him, because when you see comedic actors sometimes they play it up for the comedy too much, and sometimes that ruins it. Like for me in this movie, they get dramatic actors like Carrie-Anne Moss. She's in The Matrix, she's in Memento. No one thinks of her as comedy actress Carrie-Anne Moss,
50s
like
mum.
Yeah.
She gives some of the best. She gives some great one-liners in this as well, and it's because they play it dramatically. Like the father plays it like he actually has PTSD.
Yeah.
But he also isn't afraid to kind of play up some of the comedic aspects, but it still feels like it's a nuanced character. Like you could feel like these characters exist. Unlike a Will Ferrell comedy movie where you're like, that's just Will Ferrell as a race car driver. Yeah. This isn't a character. It's just Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly improvising for multiple scenes in a row, and they just stitched it together in the editing room.
Yeah, like, in none of the characters in this film I would look at and go, like, well, that's not the character, this is da-da-da actor. It's not like you have the thing where Will Smith in the new Aladdin film, where you just go, like, well, there's Will Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
what
not
are we,
like...
some kind of Suicide Squad?
Yeah. I mean, like, he acts like himself in pretty much everything. It's none of that is in this shot, where it's kind of like, you see the actor, you just see the character in all
Yeah,
this
you
stuff.
could have, like, Billy Connolly's been guilty of that in previous movies, where he's, like, the man who sued God and stuff, where he's just basically playing Billy Connolly in a movie. Like, you could have had him in this movie say the word fuck at some point, like, and he's, oh, fuck! And then you're like, it's Billy Connolly. But this movie actually has artistic merit. Yeah, and basically the rest of the movie really follows along the plot lines of the dad still not changing, while the rest of the family changes because Fido is just so charming in his thing, and the neighbor, the head of the zombie company, figuring out that Timmy and Fido are behind that zombie uprising and kind of getting that shit sorted.
Could I ask you a question, Ryan?
You may.
Do the bullies change?
The bullies change a lot because they decide that they're up for murdering now. Because they take Timmy and Fido by gunpoint and tie them to trees, and then they break their collar on Fido so that they could shoot Fido in the head.
Yeah,
to then justify that he tried to attack.
Yeah.
But they're too dumb. The one with the gun is too afraid, and then when he does shoot, Fido shoots him in the chest, and it goes through him and kills the other brother, which was great.
Yeah, it went through Fido's right chest and through the kid's heart.
And then it was a great little comedy moment.
Yeah, and
I really was genuinely surprised by that.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It was
But
very.
it was very quick.
It was very quick too, because like the moment you saw that the other one had been shot, the one that did the shooting was like, "You stupid zombie! You made me kill my brother."
Yeah, that was so funny. That's like the least caring form of any. Like, he didn't cry, he wasn't upset, he wasn't angry.
And we as an audience didn't really get a chance to react
you
to
made
them.
me
Like,
kill
oh
my
no,
brother.
he's dead.
But it makes sense because he didn't like him, the brother. He was always telling him to shut up, you fucking fat idiot. Like,
yeah, I know.
Always, but it made sense that even more so that he would react like that. Not even just because of that's how society works, but also just the dynamics between them.
I'm just saying the timing was a bit weird.
But I think it worked. But
it worked, but it was.
But here's the thing too: it's unusual because a kid died in a movie. Like you don't,
not just like
you just don't get
peacefully
that.
or accidentally or off
that's what I'm
screen.
saying.
He's just like straight up just murdered.
He
him.
just straight up murdered, and then Fido's like, "I've had enough of this," and chases the other kid into like a little
the nearby shack,
and eats him. We hear it, and then
you were cheering.
I love it when kids get murdered brutally in movies because you don't get that so often. Like there are so many movies that pussy out on killing kids when the movie's universal atmosphere indicates that would happen, but then they don't do it. Like, I think one of the examples recently was in the newest Halloween movie. He doesn't kill any kids.
Okay.
Yet, why wouldn't he? He kills everything and everyone. Like, there's literally a scene in the movie where he grabs a knife and he's left alone in this house. He kills the babysitter, and then he's standing over the baby, and then he walks away and leaves. It's like, no, Michael would fucking stab that baby.
I guess
like, don't pussy out. You're a horror movie. This is a horror comedy. This movie, I'm surprised it even went that far.
Yeah.
This movie has got more guts and teeth than Halloween. Jeez.
The negotiation, though, was that we saw it from Timmy's perspective, so we didn't see what happened inside the shack.
No, but they still did it.
They
and
still
then he
did it.
came back as a zombie, the little kid.
Yeah.
They weren't afraid of doing that.
Yeah, but Fido, he wasn't able to untie Timmy.
No, it was too complicated. So we had to be trusted to walk all the way back home to get the mum to drive up there and solve that problem.
And he was wearing a jacket that covered his neck, too. So
yeah,
you couldn't see
it was
the
good.
light.
There's a great bit in that whole sequence in which the mum is like, when she eventually drives up there, and she is just so nonchalantly watching Fido grab, like, the zombie kids and like throwing them
out into the bush.
Like he grabs like the fat one that got shot and just like grabs him and just like throws him into like a bush that's also like a mini like a little mini pit hole, I guess, because he falls pretty far. And the mum just nonchalantly in her 1950s outfit with a little handgun walks over and unloads the whole
the whole
entire
clip,
gun.
and I'm just like, what?
Like,
when all
Malloy,
7 bullets just loaded in, I'm just like, holy crap, why?
Because she's making sure.
That was her little badass scene.
And then, but then what Malloy and I really loved was just how nonchalantly she is just pouring petrol onto the shack with a little
cared they
dead
committed
boy.
crimes at all.
And then
like,
they're
all
children.
they were just like, it's a crime. They're children. Who cares? Just
And
put
just
some petrol and
burns
let
it.
it
And
burn.
she has like some really poignant line about how, something about like we're not supposed to be doing stuff like this. Then it cuts to like the huge shack on fire.
And they're just standing there and they're all holding hands looking happy.
Yeah.
It's like, let's never do this again, Timmy.
They were zombies and they were going to kill you.
I know, Mom.
I did what I had to do.
I know.
And I don't want you thinking that what we did is normal or okay in any way.
I don't.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Mr. Bottom is... And the thing about Mr. Bottom is the name is never played for comedy.
Yeah,
it is just his name. So when I'm saying it, I am playing it for comedy. But just to let you guys know, it's never played like they call him Mr. Bottom. They just call him Mr. Bottom.
Yeah, it's
it's just a name he has.
It's like Neville Longbottom from Harry Potter. They don't play it up.
They do play that for comedy.
Yeah, they kind of like, well, he's the goofball.
Yeah, he's a goofball.
Like, they never directly say that word, but they act like he is
and
that.
And please, when you hear Alan Rickman say in that droll voice of his, Longbottom, do you see?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But in this movie, it's never done like that. I just say it because it is amusing.
Yeah.
But he's just basically like, well, found the baseball, Timmy did it, and just takes Fido.
I do love the fact there's no more evidence required than that. It's just like
do you
there's
need
blood on...
anymore?
Well, couldn't Timmy just say he lost his ball?
No, because early in the movie he saw Fido with the blood on his face, so... he knows.
Oh yeah, his excuse was that like, oh, I had a nosebleed and I wiped it on my slave here.
Yeah.
And he didn't believe it then either.
Yeah.
So. And basically, there's just this bit where Fido gets taken away for a while, and we're left with the family dynamic again. And it's an interesting way of playing on that kind of stuff because during all of this, the wife's really bonding with Fido, the mum. She even dances with him to aggravate the dad, and the dad has a great moment of power play where he just electrocutes Fido and he's like, I'm going to sleep now, and just walks off. Fido gets taken away by the evil government people, and they're kind of reprimanded, like, we won't throw you out of here, but just never do it again. So, of course, Timmy's like, let's do it again. Immediately, he's like, let's get Fido back.
Yeah.
Like, time passes, the little bottom girl...
Little bottom girl.
She tells him that Fido's alive, which is good, because they don't waste him.
With a rock and paper. And also, yeah, we eventually have the scene where the mum tells Timmy, like, oh, your dad, he's just afraid to show his love, and then it leads to the great scene we already talked about where he gives him the gun. Did that gun get used for anything?
No. Oh, no, because he picked up the shotgun instead. No, it wasn't.
No, that gun doesn't get used.
Okay, so it was
I
just
think it's more just the bonding implication of this is the only few times he's happy is when he goes like, I'm happy, don't have emotions, here's a gun.
Yeah, here's a gun, never have emotions.
Never have emotions. This
like,
is me
like
smiling.
me.
While I'm smiling, while he's smiling.
It's just that because there is a point later where Timmy goes into the wildlands, and I'm like, well, at least he has a gun.
And there's a great bit of, there's so many great lines of dialogue that just really build on the world and characters, like the wife of Bottom is like, you know, our daughter, she never gets to make any friends because we move around all the time and all that. It's like, really? Because my husband, you know, he's lived in, what was the town again? Willard his whole life, and he hasn't got any friends. And that's the way he likes it. Like, you know, and again, that builds into the terms of he doesn't want to make connections with people. But it also builds into that 1950s aesthetic of, like, you have to have that life, the nuclear family, where the husband's the provider, the wife's at home waiting with the martini with the olives in it, and you know, you have to have...
there was that line, it was like, a martini with 3 olives, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, exactly, and you have to have the home-cooked roast, and the good little boy named Timmy, and, you know, like, all this stuff. So even though he doesn't want these emotional connections, he still, because of society, especially the 1950s society, has to abide by that system, because that's what you do. And I really like that kind of commentary on that too, like, you know, especially that 1950s Americana thing of you are forced via society into roles that you probably wouldn't want, because he definitely doesn't want it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anyone. He would rather be alone playing golf.
A 3-olive martini. What did I do to deserve this?
We all eventually lead up to the climax, I would say.
Yeah, where Timmy asks Theopolis to get him to the company.
Yeah, and him, Theopolis, and Tammy go, and they have a great plan, wasn't it, Malloy, to get in?
Oh, yeah, the whole concept of, how do we get in? I know, we'll take the collar off one of the zombies, let 20 to 30 people die, and then we'll just walk through. I mean, this is Timmy's concept of, well, this is what I want. So, how many people need to die, we'll just let them die.
And it matches Theopolis as well, because he's like, fuck him.
Yeah, he took off the collar and he was like, zombie alert, and everyone freaked out.
There's, of course, the great gag that we've mentioned, Frank the guard, before, when they go up to the gate and Frank the guard is there, and he's just like, all right, get on in there. And he's always there, and then, you know, he plays a role later in the movie a couple of times before the movie ends. But I just want to mention Frank the guard properly. He guards the door, like the entry. Yeah, they go to the zombie thing because you find out that the Zombie Co. building, because Fido's in the basement working on machinery and stuff. And the plan is just to uncollar a random zombie in line, and it eats a bunch of people.
Yeah, I don't know. In my head, I was thinking, like, okay, so they're probably going to sneak through something, or they're going to cause, like, a fake alarm and get people to panic. But no, they just straight up just like, oh, just take the collar off and let them kill
And the
people.
guy behind the counter is kind of onto them and, like, aiming the gun, but then he accidentally shoots Tammy, like, just off the top of the head.
Yeah. Like on the scalp line, so it doesn't get her brain fully, so she's not killed.
Yeah.
Which I actually went,
yeah,
but then she was fine, and I'm like, okay, phew.
But Theopolis was still very pissed at that close call, so he, like, physically went to fight the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I felt for Theopolis. He seemed like, even though he was a sexy, weird pervert man who chained up his girl and fucked her each night, and kissed her dead, decompositioned mouth.
Yeah, that's what he did right before he took off the collar and yelled,
I do love, like, the disgusted face of the lady behind them.
Yes.
She's like, oh.
But another touch I liked was the zombie in front of them kind of looked around, like what's going on here? Lots of stuff like that. But yeah, Timmy gets behind the scenes, frees Fido, but gets taken by Mr. Bottom outside, and he throws him out the gated area, which is nice. Like, you are rejected from this society. You are literally thrown out of the gated community.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice.
Although I do find it funny, it's one of the least intimidating gates or fences I've ever seen in my life. It's literally just like a little bit of wire and some hooks. Because when you get kicked out, couldn't you just climb back?
Nah, there was barbed wire.
Yeah, but you can get over barbed wire.
But it was the razor sharp, like, curly ones.
People get over that stuff all the time.
Yeah, but I think the guards with guns...
But you can go in anywhere else around the thing. And it's not like the zombies fight. It's weird. It's kind of like...
That was the only time we saw the gate, so it's kind of hard to theorize what the rest of it all is guarded.
Well, you think it's like a giant concrete Great Wall of China the rest of the way through?
It's still that kind of fence, but I think it's the fact that the town is also run by basically a militia. I think that
it's
stops
governed by a company that's
from
right
just
there.
breaking in.
Yeah.
Timmy gets locked outside, but the dad decides when he eventually gets to him and the mum just drive through, and Frank's like, oh no, they've driven through. There's a whole back and forth between the dad and the mum. Isn't that right, Bartek? Because the dad decides he needs to step up and be a hero, and the mum's like, don't, you're not. And he isn't. He's fucking pathetic.
Yeah, no, it was weird. It was kind of like at the very end, he had the opportunity to shoot the guy, and instead he charged at him.
Because he's too much of a coward.
Yeah, no.
But he gets the guy away from the gate, and that actually helps Timmy because, the guy didn't take the key out of the gate.
Because he was doing it as a bluff tactic.
Possibly, yeah.
No, I think definitely. I think he was playing it out to see how Timmy would feel about this. Because I think he was going to let him back in, because he did have the key still in.
Yeah.
He didn't just lock it and walk off.
Yeah, again, another situation where I think the guy in charge isn't actually a bad guy.
No, he's a hero in that universe. He has killed 500 people, 500 zombies.
And he helps Timmy up in the second scene where after the bullies messed with him.
Yeah, and at the end, he was where the guy got found out, where the zombie got found out for killing him. He didn't pull them all out or anything.
Well, it's like The Shape of Water on a level. And The Shape of the Water, the bad guy in that movie would be the hero if it was the movie about the creature being evil.
Yeah.
And that's him in this movie. The zombies are evil, so in that world, he is a legendary hero. And Timmy did a bad thing and got people murdered, but since we are from the perspective of Timmy, he is the bad guy because he is trying to hurt Timmy and ruin the dynamic of Timmy's family.
I guess, like a lawful kind of evil.
But if you remove that perspective of our that we've followed, he is a good guy.
Yeah.
He is the hero of this story. But
he was super lenient with the child.
Yeah, when he left him out there, he was doing it in that very 1950s, if you smoke a cigarette here, smoke
tough love concept,
tough love. He was giving him a little lecture while he was out there, see, they don't have any compassion for you. They'll eat your flesh. How do you feel about that, Timmy? He was giving him the very tough, stern punishment that his father wasn't giving because his father's too emotionally weak.
And he didn't have the key.
No, but
I know, yeah.
But the dad charges the guy and just kind of gets shot to death by the guy.
They have a big wrestle back and forth, but eventually,
he gets shot in the heart.
One of them has a handgun and it flies into his heart.
And the dad dies.
Yeah.
But don't worry, Timmy, like you said, comes through the gate, but does he lock the gate behind him?
No, but he closes it.
I don't think he really did that. I think it just kind of
No, because there was a whole minute of us being he didn't lock the gate, but they're not coming through. And then eventually the gate opens and Ryan's like, oh, it wasn't locked.
Yeah, but Fido, he steps up as a hero because Timmy does a nice thing, which is he sees the dad's dead. He removes the collar and goes, "Go get him, boy!" Because there's so many lines of dialogue where he responds to Fido's existence as he is a dog.
Yeah, and there was also the thing of when Fido was calling for help with the mum, it was essentially a play on the Timmy stuck down a well.
Yeah.
Lead me to the well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Timmy, what? And what does Fido do to Mr. Bottom?
He bites him
on the neck.
Yeah.
And so that means,
and it was lethal enough to kill him.
Yeah. Yes, because it's a jugular. So
yeah,
that's a death blow right there. And just madness ensues.
Yeah, there's a zombie outbreak because
just at the base though.
Yeah, at the base, and people die, but the zombies get taken care of because, as you said, they're really on top of things.
But one of the best gags too is when they're driving out. Miss Theopolis gets them in the car. The dad's dead, but they've taken his body as well with them. So that they can have a funeral later, because it's what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
It's what he always wanted. Theopolis drives along, and they drive out, and then he stops. He goes, "See ya, Frank!" And Frank's a zombie ripping into another guy, and he's just like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "Oh, that's classic Frank," and just keeps driving. And they just go back to their normal lives,
Yeah, it cuts to the funeral, then it cuts to, babies already born.
And like we said, the newsreel is this evil man Frank did it. He teamed up with these zombie bounty hunters, and it was his fault.
And it took out our hero.
And Bottom comes back. He's a zombie, and the daughter treats him like a pet. And they're like, "What do you call him?" He's like, "I don't know. At the moment, I'm just calling him Daddy." She really just treats him like shit.
Yeah.
And the wife doesn't care. There's a great bit with the wife of Bottom where Bottom's like, if, it doesn't matter if they're family, you have to kill them. Betsy here, if she turns, I'm going to remove her head straight away. And she's like, he says this all the time. It's just like, and everything about this, let's talk about the ending and resolution of this. Because the resolution is basically Fido looks at a small baby and shows affection towards it.
Yeah, like rubs the cheek.
And goes, and credits.
Yeah.
Very awkward ending, but a very necessary ending, I would say. But the thing that we talked about after it was done was, it was so unique that this movie, all these events happened, and it didn't change the world.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, it's pretty much a story in the moment of time when nothing happened massive before. Nothing, well, I mean, setup. Yeah, but I mean, nothing happened directly before, nothing happened directly after. Like, and it's essentially the same place in the same world. It just continued on.
Yeah, it's not like they changed the status quo of the world. They changed the status quo of their family unit and their dynamic with the neighbor, Mr. Theopolis.
Yeah.
But,
Fido learned love, and now he's human again.
But it's not like... There was this movie about zombie love called Warm Bodies. Do you remember this?
I've heard of it, yeah. No.
It was a zombie romance movie where the plot was a zombie boy, played by Nicholas Hoult, falls in love with a human girl, and we're hearing it from his perspective of internal thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, they find out that if zombies can fall in love, their hearts start beating again, and they become more human.
Oh, okay.
That's literally the plot. This isn't as stupid as I thought. Like, that doesn't, like, just because a zombie learns something doesn't mean the rest of them and everything changed. Like, we didn't have that bit where Fido's speaking to the zombies, like, don't eat humans, and they're like, okay, master. Like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, zombies are still a problem. The corporation's still in charge and still ruling this universe with an iron fist, and everyone's still stuck in their 1950s gated community. Yeah. But our main heroes have learned a lesson.
Nice catch.
I think it's time to kind of talk about what year we thought this movie came out. Because the thing is, you know, I know the answer, but I thought it would be... We always think it's fun to kind of estimate what year we thought this came out.
Yeah.
Bartek, when watching this, and after watching this, when did you think this Fido came out?
Just a blind, throw a dart guess. I was thinking 2006.
Malloy?
Wow, okay, that's really freaky. I was actually thinking, because my original thought was 2002, but then I was thinking some of the other effects were a little bit, like the artistry and the makeup was a little bit more complicated. So I probably will go around 2004. I was literally thinking 2006, but I can't take the same
I'm thinking maybe I might have overshot it.
Yeah, I might go 2004 then.
When I was watching it, I was thinking about Carrie-Anne Moss, how she appeared in this. She didn't have short hair, so it must have been after The Matrix. Like, you know what I mean?
So
like,
after 1998?
Oh, okay.
No, remember the 3 Matrix movies.
Oh, after all of them, right?
Yeah, because think about it.
But did she just cut her hair and grow it again?
No, but The Matrix, you know what I mean? Like, so this is my thought process.
Oh,
okay. So she has longer hair, which is actually quite unusual for her, because when you think of things in Memento, she has short hair. Like, so I'm thinking... Okay, this must be after that, like, early 2000s period, mid-2000s, and I guess, like, 2006 as well. And in the end, the movie came out in 2006.
Oh, okay.
I should have... Oh, wow, let's go.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
So that was a good thing. Now,
one thing that also kind of struck me was we found out Timmy's actor's name at one point.
Is Kasan Ray.
Yeah, it's like...
Kasan Ray?
K''S-U-N, and then his last name was Ray.
Yeah,
which is
wasn't there something
name.
where his stage name is pretty much identical to his real name?
No, just replace the apostrophe with an E.
That's his real name, the E.
Kesun.
Why do they do...
and he's led an interesting life.
And yeah, Rachel, your fiancé, found that out for us, and she mentioned he's our age, so I'm like, okay, so he looks like what we would have looked like at whatever age, so that was kind of my thought.
Would we recommend this movie to watch?
I think it was a pretty good film. I would definitely recommend it. It's a very good horror comedy mix.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. It had really no flaws for me, other than maybe it could have quickened up the pace.
That's exactly
here
what
and
I thought,
there.
yeah.
Like, there were maybe 1 or 2 scenes that were just like, here's a scene. But I can't really fault those things because they did add 2 things. They weren't just there for no reason, like some movies today where it's like, here's a scene, but like the scenes that maybe one or two things could have been trimmed, but it is a pretty short movie. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes in its runtime anyway.
There were times where I thought like, oh, it's been a while since I had like a decent laugh. Like, well, let's have something else. But
yeah,
it was
I would recommend it. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Malloy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious, is this based off a book?
No,
Because
it's an original story by...
Yeah, because the flow and the way that it's been set up really felt like it was based on a book. Like, there was certain scenes where, like, there was just shots of just zombies walking, and I think that's why you had that pacing problem. There was just kind of like, he's walking slow, we get into zombie. Oh, okay, he's still walking.
Well,
okay, yeah,
they needed to let you know zombies exist.
Yeah, and they do that by the multiple shots of zombies walking slow, which is why I kind of thought it was probably based on a book or something because of the way the pacing was set
like
up.
a YA book?
Yeah, like one of those kind of like teen books. They're like they're kind of books, but they're shortened down to a point where they're basically script. But yeah, I definitely would recommend watching this film.
Yeah, man.
Other than the fact that it just seemed like a couple of scenes were a little bit long. But again, it's weird. It felt long, but I can't think of anything that would cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, I think it's just one of these things of... Maybe it's also a first-time viewing thing as well. Like, maybe if you rewatched it, it would flow more for you as well, or maybe less. Who knows? Because sometimes that happens, too. When you're watching something for the first time and you're using your analytical brain to be like, okay, what am I expecting from this? I'm expecting this, this, and this. But when you rewatch something, you're kind of like, okay, I've already lived in this movie once. I can kind of just flow my way through, and you kind of can turn off your critical brain a bit.
Okay, here's the thing. I can guarantee I've got almost zero critical brain for movies like this, and I felt the exact same thing.
No, you say that, but
legitimately,
let's be honest. You come
start...
here today for a podcast to talk about a movie. So
I
no matter
also
what you say,
do like
there's some bit in your
Transformers.
brain that's just like, well, I've got to think about what the movie is doing.
And I have to say, Mo, you did really well, so you don't have to worry.
I was going to say, but I also think about the fact that
clap
I
for
do...
Lloyd.
okay, your bar is set way too low in the studio. He understood the film, and it was a film, and it had titles and a name.
And he was able to talk about it.
Oh, and Malloy turned up.
Whoa!
and he had hands to pick a movie. Great.
Well, Ryan, I had to drag him by his ear to make sure he finds the place.
I mean, they're pretty big ears. They're pretty easy.
They're really big now. Because
Yeah, I
you
know.
dragged him by
Just
him.
a Dumbo.
Well, they're being engulfed by headphones at the moment.
So, we've come to the end of the episode, Bartek.
Yes.
I don't know if you informed Malloy of what we do at the end.
I
but
didn't.
We're going to throw him into the deep end
Oh,
right
I'm
now.
exciting. Throw him into the zombie
We were
pit.
talking
Go
about
for it.
deep ends on the way here.
Malloy, we're stuck in this room because we can't finish the episode until we escape the gated room that we are in, Malloy. And here's what's the problem, though. There's only 3 of us. We need a 4th individual to help us escape from the room, and that 4th individual has to be a character from this movie that we just watched. We have to pick, as a group, what character we want from the movie to help us, and then we will role play or real play how we escape the room as a team, as a unit, as individuals. Who from this movie do you think would help us escape this gated room we're in?
Now, is there any threats outside of the room, or is it just
Well,
inside?
we don't know yet. We have to get outside to find out.
See, now, in my head, I'm thinking, if there's zombie inside, there's zombies outside,
Yeah.
in which case you'd want Fido, because he's able to communicate in zombie, which means you'd be able to talk your way, at least to what's behind you, out. Plus, if he doesn't bite you, the others might not bite you as well.
Okay, he's got a good point, Bartek.
See, that's the way I think of it.
The gate's closed, Ryan.
But again, you can smash his head into the gate over and over, and you'll eventually break the gate.
Bartek?
The gate's closed, Ryan, and we have to open the gate. So we need someone who knows gates.
Yeah.
We need someone that works at the gate.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
Yes, say his name.
Oh, Fred. D.
Oh, yep. Old Fred. I knew you were going to go there, Bartek, and I immediately was like, I'm on the same wavelength as you, but my original choice for someone to help us escape was, I wanted to pick Tammy.
Yeah.
She seemed pretty good. She
kiss
got
her.
shot in the head, and she seemed to survive that. But I think we need to pick Fred. I mean, he was a hero. I mean, he was a traitor in the end, according to the government, but... Fred's a good choice. Now, we're stuck in this room. There's a gate. How do 4 people get over a gate? What do you think we do?
Well, see, I would climb on Friday.
Yeah, but we've got Fred now.
So, Fred.
He's a full-bodied, able human being.
Oh.
I think...
Is there a lock on this gate?
No. We don't even have the door part of the gate.
We don't
it's
even
just
have
the
the door?
gate.
Oh,
it's just a
geez.
fence, sorry. We're in a gated community. We're in a fenced
Okay.
community. Bartek, what do you think's a way that we could get out with Fred helping us?
Well, I would immediately ask Fred, like, Fred, what's the protocol to get on the other side of a gate? Like, and whatever he tells me, you know, I'll try to, like, incorporate that into this gate. So what would Fred say? is the thing.
Well, let's ask Fred. So, Fred, what do you think we should do?
Oh, man. All right. So I was just trying to get his voice because he barely spoke. It was kind of like no, it was...
Made faces.
Yeah, he did make... Well, you can't make faces on an audio podcast. It was kind of...
How about you make faces and I translate those faces?
Okay.
Okay, so what we need to do is stack on top of each other, and the person on top jumps over, and then the second person jumps over that person. The person on the fence helps pull them over. Okay.
See, this is why we picked Fred.
So but then we've got two people still stuck on the other side, and they can't just help pull
See,
themselves
I figured
over.
Fred is so good with faces and communication. He'll be able to find someone to talk to and bring help.
How about
oh my God.
How about Fred makes a really big face and we climb on the face and go over the fence?
Yeah, and then Fred's on the other side still.
Well,
Fred
but
just opens his mouth.
His nose
and
will
just
be
takes
over
it.
the fence. We'll pull the nose.
He did have a really big nose.
It's
that
like a
actor.
Houdini blanket. Just pull it over the fence and it disappears.
Exactly. So we're
It's
over
like
the fence
huzzah.
now. We're all high-fiving. High five. We've made it. End of the episode.
We
high
go
five.
bang.
Fred's there, and then we hear. "Ah!" We look over. Oh no, they're eating Fred. Ah, well, it's okay. He was a traitor. Let's just keep moving forward to the bit of the episode in which I tell you, listening people, to spread us like a virus, like a zombie plague. Rate us on the Apple Podcasts and whatever podcast platforming sites have a rating system and a review system. Spread us. Tell all your friends on all the social medias, the Facebook, the Twitter. I mean, that's it. We're not on Instagram or MySpace.
It's probably for the best.
Or Bebo.
It's probably
But
for the best, to be fair.
we should be on Bebo. We're not on Gaia Online. You don't remember Gaia
I'm
Online?
surprised you know what Gaia Online is, Ryan.
Why wouldn't I know?
I don't know.
What's Gaia Online?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
It's a browser-based website with a built-in MMO where you can make your own character, but you pay a lot of money for clothing for your
So
avatar.
is this kind of like My First WoW type thing?
But it's also a social media site where you talk to people.
Yeah.
It's mainly like you talk to people, but you have a little avatar that you dress up.
Yeah.
Gaia Online.
Well, I know you're going to be
Ryan
making
knows
an
what
account
Gaia
then.
Online is.
I think Ryan's already got an account of Gaia Online.
Okay, sounds like we need to set up our podcast on Gaia Online.
I think I made one forever ago.
We'll just text chat the whole entire podcast.
Did your Gaia Online guy have a beard?
I think they have blue hair.
I mean, if you
So-
have an online personality, that's all you need.
So until next time, my great listening people, I'm Bartex and Malloy's. We should remember to thank Malloy.
Thanks, Moy. You did good, and I
We
clapped.
need to thank Bartek. We need to thank me. We need to thank, the filmmakers of Fido. But more importantly, remember to be kind to each other.
All the best with the zombie apocalypse.
And if you find us on Gaia Online, give us a less than 3.